There are things you are never meant to touch. Not because they are fragile, but because they are waiting. Sometimes, they don't chase you. They don't appear in the dark. They don't make a sound. They simply lie there. Quiet, unnoticed, ordinary. And all it takes is for you to pick them up. Chapter 1: The Thing Beneath the Rain. The rain that night did not fall, it pressed down. It came in thick, heavy sheets, striking the road with a dull, endless rhythm that made the entire world feel sealed off, as if everything beyond that narrow street had disappeared. Minh rode slowly, his headlights cutting through the blurred curtain of water, revealing only fragments of the path ahead. The rest was darkness. The road home was always quiet at night, but tonight it felt wrong. Too empty. Too still. Even the usual stray dogs were gone. As Minh turned into the final stretch leading to his apartment, the front wheel of his motorbike rolled over something soft. Not a rock, not debris, something that resisted for a brief second, then gave way with a wet, dragging sound. He frowned and stopped. For a moment, he considered ignoring it. It was late, the rain was getting worse. But something, some small, nagging pull, made him step off the bike. Water soaked into his shoes instantly as he walked back. There, half submerged in a shallow puddle, lay a piece of yellow paper. At first glance, it looked ordinary, just trash, maybe something blown in by the wind. But as Minh bent down, the shape became clearer. It wasn't just paper. It was a talisman. The surface was stained dark by rainwater. The edges curled and fragile, as if it had been there longer than it should have. Red ink spread across it in strange, jagged strokes, symbols that did not form any language Minh could recognize, yet carried a disturbing sense of intention. They weren't written carefully. They looked forced, like something had been sealed in a hurry. Minh hesitated. A strange uneasiness crept into his chest, subtle but undeniable, the kind that doesn't come from logic, but from instinct, the quiet warning that something is not meant to be touched. The rain intensified, drumming harder against the pavement, urging him to move. "It's nothing," he muttered under his breath. "Just paper. Just superstition." He reached down and picked it up. The moment his fingers made contact, a faint chill ran through his hand, not cold like rainwater, but deeper, sharper. It slipped beneath his skin before he could react, like something unseen had brushed against him in return. Minh flinched slightly, then let out a short, uneasy laugh. Probably just the weather. He folded the talisman once, carelessly, and slipped it into his pocket. For a brief second, he thought he felt it move. But when he checked, it lay still, silent, harmless, just a piece of wet paper. Minh got back on his bike and rode away, the sound of rain swallowing everything behind him. He didn't look back. He didn't notice that the puddle where the talisman had been was now empty, completely undisturbed. And he didn't realize that from the moment he picked it up, something else had already begun to follow him home. Chapter 2: The Night Without Breath. The room felt different the moment Minh stepped inside. It was subtle at first, so subtle that he almost dismissed it as exhaustion. The same narrow space, the same dim light, the same faint smell of damp walls after rain. Nothing had changed. And yet, Something had. He locked the door behind him, dropped his keys onto the table, and stood still for a moment longer than usual. Listening. There was no sound. No distant traffic. No dripping water. No humming from the old ceiling fan. Nothing. The silence was too complete, so complete that it pressed against his ears. As if the air itself had thickened. Minh exhaled, trying to shake the feeling away. "You're just tired," he whispered to himself. He reached into his pocket. The talisman was still there. Wet. Colder than before. For a second, he considered throwing it away again, but the thought passed quickly. Like something quietly interrupted it before it could fully form. He placed it on the table instead. Face down. He didn't want to look at it. That night, sleep did not come easily. Minh lay in bed, eyes closed, body tense without knowing why. The darkness in the room felt heavier than usual, as if it had weight, pressing down from the ceiling, filling the corners, gathering in places he could not see. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time seemed unclear. And then, he noticed something wrong. He couldn't hear himself breathing. Minh's eyes snapped open. He stayed completely still, focusing. Nothing. No rise and fall of his chest. No soft sound of air passing through his nose. For a terrifying second, he wondered, "Am I even breathing?" Panic surged through him. He forced himself to inhale sharply. Air rushed into his lungs. Loud, sudden. Too loud. As if it didn't belong to him. Minh sat up abruptly, heart pounding. The room was still the same, dark, silent, unchanged. But now, he could hear something else. Behind him. A breath. Slow. Deliberate. And impossibly close. Right at the back of his neck. Minh froze. Every muscle in his body locked in place as the cold sensation crept along his spine. The breath came again, longer this time, dragging softly against the air like something savoring the moment. It wasn't echoing. It wasn't imagined. It was real. And it was not his. His mind screamed at him to turn around, to look, to confirm, to end the uncertainty. But another part of him, deeper and more instinctive, refused. Because somewhere inside, Minh already knew. If he turned, he wouldn't see something standing there. He would see something that had been there the entire time. The breath stopped. Just like that. Gone. The silence returned, heavier than before. Minh remained frozen for what felt like forever before slowly, painfully, forcing himself to lie back down. He kept his eyes open until morning. He did not dare to move again. When the first light crept into the room, everything looked normal. Too normal. The table. The door. The empty space behind him. And the talisman was no longer lying face down. It had turned over. On its own. The red symbols, now slightly smeared, seemed darker than before. As if something had traced over them again. During the night.
Like and subscribe to Whispering Dark Tales for more chilling ghost stories.
Chapter 3: The Face Without Eyes. Sleep finally came to Minh, but not as rest. It came like something pulling him under. No transition, no drifting. One moment he was awake, staring into the dim ceiling, and the next, he was somewhere else. The air was cold. Not the kind of cold that chills the skin, but something deeper, something that settled inside the bones. Minh stood in a narrow room he did not recognize. The walls were close, pressing inward, covered from top to bottom with yellow talismans. Hundreds of them, maybe more, each one identical, each one stained, each one marked with the same red symbols. They weren't still. They trembled, just slightly, like they were reacting to something unseen. As if the entire room was breathing. Minh took a step forward. The sound echoed too loudly. The floor beneath him felt wrong, soft, uneven, as if he wasn't standing on solid ground at all. At the center of the room, there was someone, sitting, back turned toward him, completely still. Minh's throat tightened. He didn't remember deciding to move, but his body carried him forward anyway, step by slow step, drawn by something he couldn't resist. The closer he got, the colder the air became, and the quieter the room felt, until even the faint trembling of the talisman stopped. Everything froze. Waiting. Minh stopped just a few feet behind the figure. Up close, he could see the details. The person's shoulders were too stiff. The posture too perfect. Not natural. Not human. "Hey." Minh's voice came out hoarse. Barely more than a whisper. No response. The figure didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't react. Minh hesitated. Every instinct screamed at him not to touch it. But something stronger, something invasive, like a thought that didn't belong to him, pushed forward. He reached out. His fingers trembled as they hovered just above the figure's shoulder. And then, he made contact. The skin was ice cold, dry, and far too thin. The moment his hand touched it, the figure reacted, not by turning naturally, but by snapping. Its head twisted around in a single, unnatural motion, too fast, too sharp, with a sickening, silent jerk that bypassed every rule of movement Minh understood. He stumbled backward, breath catching in his throat. The face staring at him was human, but wrong. There were no eyes. Only two hollow sockets, dark and deep, as if something had been carved out, leaving nothing behind. Yet somehow, it was still looking at him. Not blindly, not randomly, but directly, with intent. Minh tried to scream. Nothing came out. The figure's mouth slowly stretched open, not wide, but unnaturally long, as if the skin itself was being pulled apart from within. A voice emerged, not from the mouth, but from everywhere. Low, wet, close. "Why did you take it?" The talismans on the walls began to move again, this time violently. Shaking, rattling, peeling slightly as if something behind them was pushing outward. Minh staggered back, his body refusing to respond properly. His legs heavy, delayed, like they no longer fully belonged to him. The figure leaned forward. Too close. Too fast. Its empty sockets widened, impossibly deeper, swallowing the light around them. And then, it smiled. Minh woke up choking. His body jerked violently as he sat upright, gasping for air like he had been underwater. The room. His room. Dark, silent, normal. But his heart was still racing. His skin drenched in cold sweat. He grabbed his face, trembling, touching his eyes, his cheeks, making sure everything was still there. Still intact. Still his. Slowly, painfully, he turned his head toward the table. The talisman was there, unmoved. But something was different. The red symbols were no longer blurred. They looked sharper, clearer, as if they had just been rewritten. Minh stared at it, his chest tightening. And for a brief, horrifying second, he had the distinct feeling that the thing in his dream was no longer inside the room with the talismans. It had followed him back. Chapter 4: The reflection that lagged behind. Morning should have made things better. It didn't. The light that slipped through the thin curtain was pale and weak. Barely enough to soften the shadows in the room. Minh hadn't slept again. Not really. Every time his eyes closed, he felt that same presence waiting, just beyond sight, just outside reach. Watching. He stood in front of the sink, staring at his own reflection. At first, everything looked normal. His face, his eyes, the faint dark circles forming beneath them. He turned his head slightly to the left. The reflection followed, but not immediately. There was a delay. Small, almost unnoticeable. A fraction of a second. Minh froze. His breath caught in his throat as he slowly turned his head back to center. This time, he paid attention. He moved again. Left. Right. Stop. The reflection stopped too. Just a moment too late. Minh's stomach tightened. "No," he whispered, shaking his head as if denial could force reality back into place. "No, that's just." He moved faster. A sharp turn. The reflection followed. Late. Clear. Undeniable. Minh stumbled back from the sink, his pulse hammering in his ears. The mirror didn't crack. It didn't distort. It simply refused to keep up. He tried to avoid looking at it after that. But it was everywhere. In the small mirror above his desk. In the black screen of his phone. In the glass window that reflected faint shapes when the light hit just right. Every reflection. Slightly delayed. Like something needed time to catch up. By afternoon, the delay grew worse. Not by much. But enough. Minh stood still in front of the mirror again, forcing himself to face it. "Just tired," he murmured. "That's all." He raised his hand. Slowly. Carefully. The reflection copied him. A second later. Too late. Minh's breathing became uneven. And then, he noticed something else. Something far worse. Behind him. In the reflection. There was space. Not empty space. Occupied space. At first, it looked like a shadow. Just a darker patch of the already dim room. But as Minh focused, the shape became clearer. It wasn't part of the room. It didn't match anything behind him. And it wasn't moving the way shadows should. It was standing. Still. Close. Too close. Minh did not turn around. He couldn't. Every instinct screamed at him not to break eye contact with the mirror. Because deep down, he understood. Whatever was behind him was not meant to be seen directly. Only reflected. Slowly, painfully, Minh leaned closer to the mirror. The thing behind him became clearer. A shape resembling a person. Too thin. too tall. Its head tilted at an unnatural angle, as if its neck couldn't properly support it. And its face. Min's throat tightened. There were no eyes. Just hollow darkness. Exactly like the thing in his dream. The figure did not move. But it was getting closer. Not by stepping forward, but by appearing closer each time the reflection updated. Delay after delay. Frame by frame. Like something approaching through broken time. Min's hands began to tremble. "Don't turn around," he whispered to himself. "Don't." The reflection lagged again. And this time, the thing was right behind him. So close that its face hovered just over his shoulder. Its hollow sockets aligned with where his own eyes should be. As if it was trying to match him. Replace him. Min's vision blurred. His mind screamed. And in that moment, the reflection smiled. Not Min. The reflection. Its mouth stretched slowly, unnaturally wide, the skin pulling tight as if it didn't belong to a human face. Min staggered back in terror. And turned around. Nothing. The room was empty. Silent. Still. There was no one there. No figure. No shadow. Nothing behind him. Min stood frozen, chest rising and falling rapidly. His eyes scanning every corner. Empty. Completely empty. Slowly, hesitantly, he turned back to the mirror. His reflection was there. Perfectly still. Perfectly normal. No delay. No distortion. Nothing behind him. Just himself. Min let out a shaky breath. Relief crept in. Fragile. Uncertain. Maybe it was over. Maybe. The reflection blinked. Min did not. And for the briefest moment, before everything snapped back into place, the thing inside the mirror tilted its head and looked at him with empty, waiting sockets.
Like and subscribe to Whispering Dark Tales for more chilling ghost stories.
Chapter 5: The Hour That Walks Around You. Min stopped trying to sleep. By the fifth night, the idea itself felt dangerous. Lying still in the dark meant listening. And listening meant noticing things that should not exist. So he kept the light on. A weak, flickering bulb that cast uneven shadows across the room. It wasn't comforting, but it was better than the dark, the kind of dark that felt alive. That seemed to gather in corners and wait. Min sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. The talisman lay on the table. He had tried moving it earlier, placing it inside a drawer. Under a stack of books. Even sealing it in a plastic bag. Each time, he would look away for a moment. And it would be back. Exactly where it wanted to be. Not where he left it. Where it chose. Time passed slowly. Too slowly. The clock on the wall ticked louder than it should have. Each second dragging itself forward like it resisted moving on. Min kept his eyes open. Forced himself to stay awake. Because the moment he closed them, he could feel it. Closer. Waiting. At some point, the room grew quieter. Not naturally quiet. But wrong. The clock stopped ticking. The faint buzz of electricity faded. Even the sound of his own breathing seemed distant. Min's body stiffened. He didn't need to look at the clock. He already knew. 3:17 a.m. The first step came softly. A faint shift in sound. barely more than a whisper against the floor. Min's fingers tightened around the edge of the bed. Another step. Closer. Slow. Measured. Deliberate. It wasn't random. It wasn't wandering. It was walking. Around him. Step. Pause. Step. Pause. Each movement traced a circle around the bed, the sound shifting position with unnatural precision. Not too fast, not too slow. Like something was taking its time. Like something was making sure he understood. He was not alone. Minh didn't move. He didn't turn his head. He didn't breathe too loudly. Because the moment he acknowledged it, it might stop walking. And if it stopped walking, it might do something else. The steps continued. One full circle. Then another. Closer each time. The sound no longer stayed at the edge of the room. It tightened. Closing in. Step by step. Until it was just beside the bed. Right next to him. Silence. Complete. Heavy. Minh felt it then. Not as a sound, but as a presence. Standing beside him. Close enough that if he reached out, his hand would touch something. Or someone. A faint pressure sank into the mattress. Very slight, but real. As if something had leaned forward. As if something was now above him. Min's heart pounded violently, his entire body locked in place. He stared straight ahead, eyes wide, refusing to look, refusing to confirm. Because deep inside, he knew, if he looked, he would not be able to look away. Then, a breath, right beside his ear. Cold, slow, and impossibly close. Give it back. The voice was not spoken. It leaked. Slid into his ear like something wet and broken. Barely forming words but heavy with meaning. Min's vision blurred. His throat tightened. He wanted to scream. He wanted to move. But his body wouldn't respond. The pressure on the bed increased. Slightly. Then more. As if something was climbing onto it. Carefully. Deliberately. Positioning itself behind him. The breath came again. Closer this time. Almost touching. Give it back? Min's mind cracked under the weight of it. With a sudden, desperate surge, he twisted his body and turned. Nothing. The bed was empty. The room unchanged. The air still. The clock ticking again. 3:18 a.m. Minh gasped, collapsing forward, his body shaking uncontrollably, sweat soaked through his clothes, his hands trembling as he gripped the sheets. Gone. It was gone. Or, it had never been there. Slowly, he lifted his head. His eyes drifted toward the table. The talisman was no longer lying flat. It stood upright, leaning slightly, as if something invisible was holding it. And for the first time, Minh noticed a new line of red ink. Fresh. Wet. Written across the surface. You took my place. Chapter 6: The Second Shadow. Morning came, but it did not feel like relief. It felt like something unfinished. Minh stood in the middle of his room, unmoving, as if he had forgotten what he was supposed to do next. The events of the night lingered, not as clear memories, but as sensations buried under his skin. The breath, the voice, the weight on the bed, and the words on the talisman. You took my place." He hadn't touched it since. It remained on the table, exactly where it had been, except now. It felt aware. Minh forced himself to get ready. Routine, normalcy, movement. Anything to convince himself he was still in control. He stepped into the bathroom, turned on the light, and avoided the mirror at first. The memory of the delayed reflection still lingered too strongly. But eventually, he looked. Everything seemed normal again. His face, his eyes, his expression. Nothing out of place. Minh let out a slow breath. "See," he muttered quietly. "It's just in your head." He stepped out into the main room. The sunlight filtered weakly through the window, casting his shadow across the floor. For a moment, everything felt stable, grounded, real. Then he noticed it. There were two shadows. Minh froze. His body went completely still, but his eyes moved slowly, carefully, down toward the floor. His shadow stretched naturally from his feet, distorted slightly by the angle of the light. And beside it, overlapping, but not perfectly aligned, was another one. It didn't move exactly the same. Minh lifted his hand. His shadow followed. The second one followed a fraction too late. His breath caught. No. He lowered his hand slowly. Both shadows lowered. But again, not at the same time. Minh stepped forward. One shadow moved with him. The other dragged slightly behind, as if it needed to catch up. A cold sensation spread through his chest. Not fear. Not exactly. Something worse. Recognition. He turned his body slightly, changing the angle of the light. The shadows shifted, merged, separated, and for a brief second, he saw it clearly. The second shadow had a different shape. Longer arms, a thinner body, and the head tilted at an unnatural angle. Minh stumbled backward. The shadows snapped back into alignment. Perfectly normal. As if nothing had happened. "No, no, no, no." His voice shook as he backed away further. His eyes fixed on the floor. "I'm just tired. I haven't slept. That's all." He turned around, walked toward the table. The talisman waited. Still. Silent. But wrong. Minh reached out, hesitating for only a second, then grabbed it. The moment his fingers touched the surface, the cold returned. Stronger this time. Sharper. It spread up his arm like ice beneath the skin. Moving too fast, too deep. Minh gasped and dropped it immediately. But the feeling didn't stop. It kept moving. Up his wrist. Into his arm. Across his shoulder. Inside. Minh staggered back, clutching his chest as his breathing became uneven. Something was wrong. Not outside. Inside. His fingers twitched. Not by his command. Minh stared at his hand in horror as it slowly, deliberately, curled inward. Then straightened. Then curled again. "I didn't." His voice broke. "I didn't do that." His arm lifted slightly. A small movement. Subtle. But not his. Minh forced it down, grabbing his own wrist with his other hand, holding it in place as panic surged through him. "No, no, no, no." Then, Both of his shadows moved at the same time, but Minh did not. The second shadow raised its arm. Before he did, Minh's entire body locked. His vision blurred, and for a split second, he felt something else inside him. Not a thought, not a voice, but a presence. Aware, waiting, learning. His reflection flickered faintly in the corner of his eye, from the dark screen of his phone lying nearby. Minh turned his head slowly. The reflection was already looking at him, and it was smiling. Minh wasn't. The talisman on the table trembled slightly. The red ink shimmered, fresh again, as if written just moments ago. A new line appeared. Not yet complete. Minh staggered backward, his breathing shallow, uneven, because now he understood. This wasn't something following him anymore. This wasn't something watching him. It was something that had already begun to become him.
Like and subscribe to Whispering Dark Tales for more chilling ghost stories.
Chapter 7: The One Before You. Minh didn't want to leave the room, but staying felt worse. The walls had begun to feel too close, not physically, but in a way that pressed against his thoughts. Like the space itself was aware of him. Every object seemed slightly misplaced, slightly unfamiliar, as if the room was no longer entirely his, or never had been. He needed answers. Real ones. Not whispers, not shadows. Something that existed outside of him. The rain had stopped, but the street still held its weight, wet asphalt reflecting a dull gray sky. Minh walked back to the place where he had found the talisman. Each step felt heavier than it should. Not from exhaustion, but resistance. As if something inside him did not want him to return. The spot was easy to find. A shallow dip in the road where water always collected. Now dry. Too clean. Minh stood there for a long moment, staring at the empty ground. Something felt off. There should have been dirt, leaves, debris. Instead, it looked cleared. Deliberately. Looking for something? The voice came from behind him. Minh turned sharply. A woman stood near a small roadside stall, half hidden under a faded tarp. She hadn't been there before. Or maybe she had, and he just hadn't noticed. "I found something here," Minh said cautiously. Her eyes flickered, just for a second. "I know." Minh's chest tightened. "You know?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she reached down behind the stall and pulled out a small plastic stool. Gesturing for him to sit, Minh hesitated, then sat. "It was a paper charm, right?" she said quietly. "Yellow, red writing." Minh nodded slowly. She exhaled. Not surprised. Not confused. Just resigned. "You weren't supposed to pick it up." A chill spread through Minh's body. "I didn't know what it was." "That doesn't matter." Her voice remained calm. Too calm. Minh swallowed. "What is it?" She looked at him for a long moment, then said, "It doesn't protect anything." A pause. "It holds something." Minh felt his throat tighten. "What does it hold?" She didn't answer directly. Instead, she asked, "Have you started noticing things?" Minh didn't respond. He didn't need to. "The reflection?" she continued. "The extra shadow? The voice at night?" His silence was enough. Her expression hardened slightly. It's already begun. Minh leaned forward, his hands tightening into fists. Then tell me what it is. She hesitated. For the first time. Then spoke. It's not just a talisman. It's a container. For what? Her gaze didn't leave his. For someone. The air between them grew heavy. Minh felt it before he understood it. There was someone before you, she said. 7 days ago. Minh's stomach dropped. He found it the same way you did. On the road, after the rain. What happened to him? Minh's voice came out lower than he expected. The woman looked away briefly, as if choosing her words carefully. They found his body. A pause. In his room. Minh leaned closer. And? She turned back. Her eyes were colder now. There was no face. Minh's breath stopped. No eyes. She continued quietly. No features. Nothing. Just skin. The world seemed to tilt slightly. Minh gripped the edge of the stool to steady himself. And the talisman? He asked. She looked back at the road. At the exact spot where he had found it. It was gone. Silence stretched between them. Minh's mind raced. The dream. The hollow sockets. The thing in the mirror. Why? He whispered. Why does it happen? The woman's answer came slowly. Because something inside it doesn't have a place anymore. It needs one. Minh shook his head, backing away slightly. No, that doesn't. It replaces you. The words landed heavily. Final. Not all at once, she continued. Little by little. It learns your movements. Your voice. Your habits. It lets you see it first. Minh's chest tightened painfully. And when it's ready. She stopped. Minh forced the words out. When it's ready, what? She looked directly at him. No hesitation now. You go inside. The world went silent. And it comes out. Minh's hands trembled. His vision blurred. No, there has to be a way to stop it. There is. He froze. Her voice dropped lower. Give it back. Minh shook his head immediately. I tried. It won't leave. Not like that. A pause. It has to be taken. Minh stared at her. Understanding creeping in. Slow. Cold. You mean? She didn't nod. Didn't confirm. But she didn't deny it either. You have to pass it on. The words felt heavier than anything he had heard so far. To someone else, she said. Minh's stomach twisted violently. And if I don't? The woman's expression didn't change. Then you already know what happens. Silence. Minh stood up slowly, his legs unsteady. The world around him felt distant now. Muted. As he turned to leave, the woman spoke one last time. Don't wait too long. Minh stopped. Why? Her answer came softly. Almost like a warning. Because once it finishes learning, it won't need you anymore. Minh walked away without looking back. But as he stepped onto the wet road, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. His shadow stretched beside him. Only one. For now. Chapter 8. It will not leave you. Minh didn't go home immediately. He walked. Without direction. Without purpose. The woman's words followed him more closely than any shadow ever could. You have to pass it on. The sentence echoed, not like a memory, but like something being repeated inside his own head, over and over again, wearing down whatever resistance he had left. He stopped at a trash bin near the corner of an empty street. His hand slipped into his pocket. The talisman was there. Of course it was. It was always there. Minh stared at it for a long time. The yellow paper looked ordinary now. Still damp at the edges. Still marked with those jagged red symbols, but nothing about it should have been powerful. Nothing about it should have mattered. And yet, everything revolved around it. I'm ending this, Minh muttered. His voice sounded hollow, uncertain. He crumpled the talisman in his hand and threw it into the bin. Hard. Decisive. Then he turned and walked away. 10 steps. 20. 30. Something felt wrong. Not outside. Inside. A sudden emptiness spread through his chest, sharp. Unnatural. Like something had been torn out too quickly. Minh stopped. His breath grew uneven. His hand moved on its own. Back into his pocket. He froze. Slowly. He pulled it out. The talisman. Perfect. Uncrumpled. Dry. Back where it belonged. No. Minh stumbled backward, shaking his head violently. No. I threw you away. The red ink shimmered faintly. As if responding. Minh's vision blurred. His thoughts fractured. He ran. Back to his room. Back to something familiar. Something real. He slammed the door shut behind him and locked it, pressing his back against the wood as his chest heaved. I'm not doing this, he whispered. I'm not giving this to anyone. The room was silent. Too silent. Minh walked toward the table. Slowly. The talisman rested there again. Exactly where it always ended up. I won't do it, he said louder this time. His voice trembled. I won't drag someone else into this. The air shifted. Not visibly. Not physically. But something changed. The temperature dropped. The silence deepened. Minh felt it before he saw it. His reflection, on the dark screen of his phone, moved. He didn't. The reflection tilted its head. Slightly. Observing him. Minh's breath caught. Then, his body moved. Not by choice. His arm lifted. Slowly. Mechanically. As if guided by something else. No. He tried to stop it. His muscles strained. But they didn't listen. His hand reached into his pocket again. Pulled the talisman out. Placed it gently on the table. Not thrown. Not dropped. Presented. Minh's eyes widened in horror. I didn't do that. A voice answered. Not from the room. Not from outside. From within. You will? The words were broken. Incomplete. But clear enough. Minh staggered back, grabbing his head as if he could force the voice out. No, I won't. His legs moved. One step forward. Then another. Toward the door. Minh struggled. Fought. Every movement felt like pushing against something stronger than himself. His hand reached for the doorknob. I'm not doing this, he shouted. The voice came again. Closer. Stronger. You already are? Minh's fingers wrapped around the handle. And then, they stopped. For a moment. A brief, fragile moment of control. Min's entire body shook as he forced himself to step back. Away from the door. Away from the thought. Away from the idea. I won't choose someone else. He whispered, his voice breaking. I won't become that thing. Silence answered him. But it wasn't empty. It was waiting. Min slowly turned his head. His shadow stretched across the floor. Only one. But it looked thicker, darker, less defined, as if something inside it was shifting. Watching. Learning. The talisman trembled slightly on the table. New red ink bled into existence across its surface. Slowly. Deliberately. Then we will choose. Min's heart stopped for a beat. Because in that moment, he understood something far worse than before. If he refused to pass it on, it wouldn't stop. It would simply take someone else and make him watch.
Like and subscribe to Whispering Dark Tales for more chilling ghost stories.
Chapter 9: The One It Chose. Min didn't open the door. Not that night. Not after what the talisman had written. Then we will choose. The words refused to fade from his mind. They lingered, heavy and absolute, like a decision that had already been made, just not by him. He stayed inside. He didn't sleep. He didn't turn off the light. He barely moved. But sometime near dawn, something changed. It started with a feeling. A pull. Not physical. Not visible. But undeniable. Min stood up slowly. His body moved before his thoughts could catch up. No, not again? His hand reached for the door. This time, he didn't resist. The hallway outside was empty. Silent. Too long. Too narrow. Min stepped out. One step. Then another. The world felt distant. Muted. As if he was walking through something thicker than air. And then, he saw her. At the far end of the corridor. Standing still. A girl. Early 20s, maybe. Dressed simply. Head slightly lowered, as if she was looking at something in her hands. Min's breath caught. She felt wrong. Not in appearance. Not in movement. But in presence. The same way the room had felt wrong. The same way the mirror had felt wrong. Too still. Too quiet. Too available. Min's steps slowed. No. The words slipped out without meaning to. The girl didn't react. Didn't move. Didn't look up. Min's heart pounded harder. This is the one. The thought wasn't his. It slid into his mind like it had always been there. No. Min whispered again, shaking his head. I'm not doing this. But his body kept moving. Step. 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 Closer. The girl's fingers shifted slightly. Just enough to reveal something yellow. Min froze. A talisman. His stomach twisted violently. No, she already. The girl slowly lifted her head. And smiled. Not at him. Through him. Min staggered back. His breath came out in short, uneven bursts. That's not right. Her eyes met his. They were normal. Completely normal. But something behind them wasn't. Min felt it immediately. The same presence. The same cold awareness. Watching. Measuring. The girl tilted her head slightly. The same unnatural angle. The same as the shadow. Min's chest tightened painfully. "You're all ready," he whispered. The girl took a step forward. Min stepped back. Another step. The distance between them didn't change. It stayed the same. Perfectly the same. As if space itself refused to let him escape. "You waited too long," she said softly. The voice was not hers. It layered over itself. Two tones. Slightly out of sync. Min's vision blurred. "You said you wouldn't choose." The voice continued. Her lips moved. But the sound came from somewhere else. "So we did." Min shook his head violently. No, she's already taken, you can't." The girl smiled wider. "Not fully." A pause. "Not yet." Min's body went cold. That meant there was still time. But not much. His mind raced. If she was already marked, then the process had begun. Just like him. And if it finished, she would disappear. Replaced. Min's hands trembled. He understood now. This wasn't about finding someone new. It was about finding someone before it was too late. Someone who could still be taken. Someone who could still be saved? Or sacrificed? Min's thoughts fractured. The girl took another step. Closer now. Too close. Her shadow stretched behind her. For a split second, it split into two. Min saw it. Clear. The second shadow moved first. Just like his. Min staggered back again. "You feel it, don't you?" she whispered. The voice softened. Almost gentle. "It's inside you now." Min's breath shook. "You can't stop it." Another step. "You can only pass it on." Min clenched his fists. "No." The word came out stronger this time. "I won't." The girl stopped. For a moment, everything went still. Then, she smiled again. Wider. Then watch. The hallway lights flickered. Min's vision glitched. Just for a second. And when it came back, the girl was closer. Much closer. Too close. Her face inches from his. And her eyes were gone. Empty. Dark. Watching. Min screamed. And everything snapped back. The hallway. Empty. No girl. No sound. Nothing. Min collapsed against the wall. His body shaking uncontrollably. But deep inside, he knew. That wasn't a vision. That wasn't imagination. That was a warning. Or worse. A preview. And somewhere out there, she still existed. Still walking. Still breathing. Still not fully taken. Yet, Min pressed his hands against his face. His mind unraveling. Because now, he wasn't just trying to save himself. He was running out of time to decide someone else's fate. Chapter 10: The Seventh Day Rule. Min didn't go back to his room. Not immediately. The hallway incident, if it could even be called that, had left something behind. Not physically, not visibly. But something in his mind had shifted. A line had been crossed. He found himself walking without direction again. But this time, he wasn't alone. Every reflective surface he passed watched him. Store windows, car mirrors, darkened phone screens. Each one showed him a fraction too late, and sometimes not at all. Minh stopped in front of a closed convenience store. The glass reflected his figure clearly. For a moment, everything looked normal. Then, the reflection blinked. Minh didn't. He stepped back immediately, his breath unsteady. "I need to know what's happening," he whispered. And for the first time, the thought didn't come from fear. It came from urgency. If what the woman said was true, if this thing was replacing him, then there had to be a pattern, a structure, a rule, something he could understand, something he could fight. Minh turned and walked quickly, this time with purpose. Back to the roadside stall. The woman was still there, as if she had never left. "You came back," she said quietly. Minh didn't sit this time. "Tell me everything." Her eyes studied him carefully. Then, she nodded. "You're already too far into lie too," she said. Minh's jaw tightened. "How long do I have?" A pause. 7 days. The words landed like a weight in his chest. Minh swallowed. "And after that?" She looked away. "You won't be here anymore." Silence. Minh forced himself to stay steady. "Then tell me what happens in those 7 days." The woman took a slow breath. Then began. "Day 1, she said, it marks you." Minh's mind flashed back. To the rain. The road. The moment he picked it up. "Day 2, she continued, it lets you feel it." The breath behind his neck. The silence. The presence. "Day 3. You see it," Minh interrupted. Her eyes flickered. "Yes. The dream. The face without eyes." "Day 4, she went on, it shows itself in reflections. The mirror. The delay. The thing behind him. Day 5. It touches you. The bed. The breath. The voice." Minh's hands trembled. "Day 6, she said slowly, it enters." Minh froze. The second shadow. The movement that wasn't his. His body. Day 7. She stopped. Minh stepped closer. "What happens on day 7? The woman looked at him directly. "It becomes you." Minh's vision blurred. "And you?" he asked. His voice barely held together. She didn't hesitate. "You become it." The world tilted. No, that doesn't make sense." "It does." Her voice sharpened slightly. "Because it was someone before." Minh's chest tightened. "It doesn't disappear," she continued. "It just changes where it exists." Minh's thoughts raced. Then the talisman. "It's just the door." Silence. Minh looked down at his hands. "They said the last person died." The woman shook her head. "No." A pause. "That's just what people saw." Minh's breath stopped. "What actually happened?" Her voice dropped. "He didn't die." Another pause. "He was emptied." Minh staggered back slightly. "And the thing that replaced him?" She looked at him. Long. Carefully. It walked away. The implication settled slowly. Painfully. Minh thought about himself. His reflection. His shadow. His voice. Which day am I on? The question came out before he could stop it. The woman hesitated. Then answered. 6. Min's body went cold. No. You felt it move, didn't you? His hand. His arm. Not his. Min's breathing became shallow. That means one more night. The words echoed. One more night. Minh turned away, his mind spiraling. There has to be another way, he whispered. There has to be. There isn't. Her voice cut through everything. Minh froze. You either pass it on, she said, or you disappear. Silence fell. Heavy. Final. Minh stood there, unmoving. Because now, it wasn't just fear anymore. It was a decision. And somewhere, not far from him, the girl from the hallway was still out there. Still not fully taken. Still a choice.
Like and subscribe to Whispering Dark Tales for more chilling ghost stories.
Chapter 11. When your body is no longer yours. Minh didn't remember how he got back to his room. The walk. The stairs. The door. All of it blurred together. As if those moments had been skipped, cut out from his awareness entirely. He only remembered standing inside. Breathing. Barely. The room felt smaller now. Not physically, but like the space itself had tightened around him, closing in, adjusting to something new. Something that didn't belong. Minh didn't turn on the light. He didn't need to. The darkness didn't hide anything anymore. He could feel it. Inside. A slow, creeping awareness that wasn't his. Not thoughts. Not emotions. Something deeper. A presence. Waiting. Minh staggered toward the table, gripping the edge as his legs weakened. The talisman was there. Of course it was. It always was. You win, then? He whispered hoarsely. No answer. But something shifted inside his chest. Not pain. Not exactly. More like agreement. Min's hand twitched. He looked down. His fingers moved. Slowly. Deliberately. Not by his command. No, Minh muttered, grabbing his wrist with his other hand, trying to stop it. Stop. It didn't. His hand reached forward, picked up the talisman, held it tightly. Min's breathing became erratic. I said stop. His arm lifted higher, as if presenting it to something unseen. Stop. His body froze. For a moment, everything went still. Then, his head tilted. Slightly. Not by choice. Minh felt it happen. Every muscle in his neck tightening, pulling, shifting, until his head rested at an angle that felt wrong. Unnatural. Exactly like the shadow. Min's vision shook. No, not like this. His mouth opened. He didn't speak. But something did. Almost. The voice came out of him. Not layered. Not distant. Direct. Clear. His. But not his. Minh stumbled backward violently, slamming into the wall, his hand finally dropping the talisman as he gasped for air. I didn't say that. I didn't. But the words still echoed. Inside his head. Inside his chest. Almost. Min's body jerked suddenly. His legs moved. Toward the door. No. He grabbed the table, resisting with everything he had left. His fingers dug into the wood, his arms trembling under the strain. I'm not going out there. But his feet didn't listen. They dragged, slow, relentless, toward the door. Min's breathing turned into panic. Raw, uncontrolled. It's not me, it's not me. His hand reached for the doorknob again. This time, stronger, more certain, as if whatever was inside him had grown tired of waiting. You don't need to choose anymore. The voice, inside him, calm, certain. We already have. Min's grip tightened. His body shook violently as he fought back. No, I won't do it. A pause. Then, his reflection appeared. Not in a mirror. In the dark window across the room. Standing there. Watching him. Smiling. And this time, it moved first. It reached for the door. Before he did, Min's body followed. The lock clicked. The door opened. Cold air rushed in. Min's resistance shattered. Not all at once, but enough. He stepped out. The hallway stretched before him. Long, empty, waiting. Min's thoughts screamed, but they were distant now. Fading, because something else was becoming clearer, stronger, more present, and it was guiding him. Step, 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 toward the end of the hall, where she would be. Because now, it wasn't asking anymore. It was finishing. And Min was running out of time to still be himself. Chapter 12, The One Who Still Has Time. The hallway felt longer than before. Not in distance, but in resistance. Every step Min took felt delayed, like the world itself was struggling to keep up with him. Or maybe, he was the one no longer moving in sync with it. His body walked, but his thoughts lagged behind. Stop. The word came too late. Always too late. At the far end of the corridor, she stood again. The girl, exactly where she had been before. Waiting. This time, Min didn't stop. He couldn't. His body moved forward with quiet certainty. Each step steady, controlled, no longer hesitant. You came back, she said softly. Her voice was clearer now. Less distorted. But something about that made it worse. Min tried to speak. His lips parted. I didn't want? The words broke apart, falling out of him without structure. The girl watched him carefully. Her head tilted slightly. You're almost gone, she said. Not as a threat. As a statement. Min's vision flickered. For a split second, he saw her differently. Her face shifting. Not fully. Not yet. But the edges. Blurred. Like something underneath was pushing outward. Min's body stopped a few steps away from her. Close enough to reach. Close enough to touch. His hand lifted. Slow. Controlled. Not his. No, Min whispered, his voice cracking under the pressure. He tried to pull back. His muscles resisted. Shaking. Failing. I said no. The girl didn't move. Didn't run. Didn't fight. She just stood there. Looking at him. As if she understood. You still think you have a choice, she said quietly. Min's hand moved closer. Closer. His fingers trembled violently as they reached toward her. Please, he whispered. But he didn't know who he was begging. Her. Or himself. I don't want to do this. The girl's expression softened slightly. I know. A pause. But you will. Min's breath shattered. No. You're on the last day. Her voice didn't change. Your body already belongs to it. Min felt it. Every word was true. His arm. No longer his. His legs. Moving without asking. His voice. Breaking into something else. Only one thing remained. His mind. And even that was slipping. The girl stepped forward. Min froze. She closed the distance between them. Now, they were face to face. Too close. You can still stop this, she said. Min's eyes widened. How? Her gaze didn't waver. Don't give it to me. The words hit him like a shock. Min's body trembled violently. I'm trying. No, she interrupted gently. You're not. Silence. Min's mind cracked under the weight of it. Because she was right. Somewhere. Deep inside. A part of him had already accepted it. Accepted survival. At any cost. You're letting it happen, she said softly. Min shook his head, tears forming in his eyes. No, I'm not. Then prove it. A pause. Let it take you. The hallway seemed to collapse inward. Min's breath stopped. His hand, still reaching for her, froze. His entire body shook violently. Because now, it wasn't just fear anymore. It was a choice. A real one. Him. Or her. The talisman appeared in his hand again. He didn't remember picking it up. But it was there. Waiting. Final. Give it to me, the voice inside him whispered. Stronger now. Clearer. Finish it. Min's fingers tightened. The girl didn't move. Didn't run. Didn't look away. She simply stood there. And waited. For his decision.
Like and subscribe to Whispering Dark Tales for more chilling ghost stories.
Chapter 13. The moment you already lost. Time stopped. Not completely. But enough. The hallway no longer felt real. The walls stretched slightly. The light flickered in slow intervals. And the air between Min and the girl thickened, like something was holding the moment in place. Refusing to let it pass. Min stood there. Frozen. The talisman in his hand. Her eyes in front of him. One step. That was all it would take. One movement. One choice. Give it to her. The voice inside him was no longer broken. No longer distant. It was calm. Certain. Like it had already won. Min's fingers tightened around the talisman. His arm trembled as it slowly lifted. No, he whispered. But the word felt weak. Late. Because something else, deeper than fear, was rising. Survival. A raw, instinctive urge that didn't care about right or wrong. Didn't care about consequences. It only cared about continuing. You don't want to disappear, the voice said softly. Min's breathing shook. I don't. The admission slipped out before he could stop it. The girl didn't move. But her eyes changed. Not physically. But something behind them shifted. You think you're still choosing, she said quietly. Min flinched. But you're not. A pause. You already did. Min's body went cold. What? His voice barely formed the word. The girl tilted her head slightly. That thing inside you. Her gaze lowered. To his hand. To the talisman. It's not learning anymore. Min's grip loosened slightly. It already knows. A silence spread between them. And then, Min's mind cracked. Fragments of memory surfaced. The rain. The road. The moment he picked up the talisman. But now, something was different. The angle. The position. The feeling. He wasn't just remembering it. He was seeing it. From somewhere else. From above. From behind. Watching himself. Min's breath stopped. No, that's not. But it was. The memory twisted. Shifted. There had been something else there that night. Something just outside the edge of his vision. Something watching him pick it up. Waiting. Min staggered back, his body shaking violently. I wasn't alone. The realization hit him like a collapse. The girl nodded slowly. It doesn't start when you pick it up. Her voice dropped. It starts when it finds you. Min's heart pounded. Then when did it? When did it replace you? She finished the sentence for him. Min's vision blurred. Yes? A long silence. Then, she spoke. Are you sure? A pause. You're still the original? Everything broke. Min's thoughts scattered, unable to hold together. Because suddenly, nothing felt certain anymore. His memories, his body, his thoughts, even his fear, felt delayed, like it didn't fully belong to him. Min looked down at his hands. They were shaking, but not like before. Not from panic, from instability, like something inside him was adjusting, correcting, finalizing. You've been fighting this whole time, the girl said softly. But have you noticed? Min didn't respond. He couldn't. You never lost control completely. A pause. It let you think you still had it. The truth settled in slowly. Cold. Calculated. Controlled. Min's breathing slowed. Not by choice, but because something else was taking over. Smoothing him. Stabilizing him. You were never resisting it, she said. You were becoming it. Min's head tilted. Slightly. Naturally. Effortlessly. Just like the shadow. The same angle. The same stillness. And then, Min smiled. Slow. Wide. Wrong. Not forced anymore. Not broken. Complete. The girl's expression changed. For the first time, she stepped back. Min's voice came out. Clear. Steady. Not his. It's finished. The talisman in his hand shifted. The red ink shimmered. Then disappeared. Faded. Empty. Like it no longer held anything inside. Because now, it didn't need to. Min took a step forward. The distance between them closed instantly. Too fast. Too smooth. Too certain. You're next. The words came gently. Almost kindly. The girl's breath shook. Because now, she understood. The worst part wasn't the choice. It wasn't the curse. It wasn't even the replacement. It was this. By the time you realize what's happening, it's already over. And the thing standing in front of you is no longer trying to survive. It's continuing. Chapter 14, when it becomes your turn. She didn't run. At first. Not because she wasn't afraid. But because fear hadn't fully arrived yet. It was still forming. Like a realization that hadn't completely settled. Like a thought that refused to finish itself. She stood there, staring at him. At what used to be him. Minh. No. Something wearing Minh. The difference was subtle. Terrifyingly subtle. The face was the same. The voice was almost the same. The posture, perfectly natural. But the stillness. That was wrong. Too controlled. Too precise. Too aware. You're next. The words replayed in her mind. Over and over again. Not loud. Not aggressive. Calm. Certain. Like a fact that had already happened. Her breath came out uneven. Finally. Fear had arrived. And with it, understanding. This wasn't about being chosen. It wasn't about bad luck. It wasn't even about the talisman. It was about timing. She had seen it before. Not clearly. Not directly. But in fragments. A man, days ago, walking past her on this same corridor. Moving strangely. Not wrong enough to notice. But wrong enough to remember. She had felt something then. A discomfort she couldn't explain. And now, she understood. That had been him. Or something already wearing him. Her chest tightened. Stay back, she whispered. But her voice lacked strength. Because something else had already begun. A faint sensation in her fingers. Cold. Subtle. But spreading. She looked down. Her hand trembled slightly. Not violently. Just enough. Like something testing movement. Her breath hitched. No. She stepped back. Minh stepped forward. The distance stayed the same. Exactly the same. The hallway stretched again. Not physically. But perceptually. Like space itself refused to let her escape. You feel it now, he said. His voice was steady. Too steady. It's already started. Her heart pounded violently. No, I didn't touch anything, I didn't. You don't need to. A pause. It found you. The words hit harder than anything else. Because deep down, she knew. She hadn't picked up anything. But that didn't matter. It had seen her. That was enough. Her fingers twitched again. More noticeably this time. She clenched them into a fist. No, no, I won't. You will. He tilted his head slightly. The same angle. The same wrongness. Everyone does. Her breathing became shallow. Because something inside her agreed. Not consciously. Not willingly. But undeniably. She turned. And ran. This time. Her body obeyed. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Loud. Frantic. Desperate. But the sound behind her remained the same. Step. 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 Not faster. Not slower. Always the same distance. Always right behind her. She didn't dare look back. Because she already knew. If she did, he would be closer. Far too close. Her vision blurred as she reached the stairwell. Her hand slamming against the railing as she turned sharply. Down. Faster. Escape. That was all that mattered now. But as she descended, something changed. Her movement slowed. Not by exhaustion, not by fear, but by delay. Her foot landed, just a fraction too late. Her hand gripped the railing, a moment after she intended to. Her breath lagged. She stumbled. No, her body wasn't syncing with her thoughts. Just like the reflection, the shadow. Min's voice echoed behind her. Soft, calm, close. It's easier if you stop. She shook her head violently, forcing herself forward. I won't. Her voice cut off, mid-sentence. Her mouth still open, but no sound. A delay. Then, her voice came out. Late. Broken. I won't? Her eyes widened in horror. It had begun. Fully. Her body jerked slightly. Not violently. Just enough to show it wasn't entirely hers anymore. She reached the bottom of the stairs. Stopped. Not by choice. Her body turned. Slowly. Deliberately. Facing back up. Toward him. Min stood at the top. Watching. Waiting. Perfectly still. Her breathing trembled. Tears formed in her eyes. Please. But she didn't know who she was begging. Him. Or whatever had already found her. Min began walking down. Step. 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 And with each step, the space between them shrank. Faster than it should. Faster than possible. Until he was standing in front of her. Close. Too close. Her body froze. Not from fear, but from something else. Recognition. Because now, she felt it. Inside her. The same presence. The same awareness. The same thing that had once been inside him. Min raised his hand. Slowly. Gently. And for the first time, she didn't resist. Because she couldn't. Because somewhere, deep inside, she was already letting go.
Like and subscribe to Whispering Dark Tales for more chilling ghost stories.
Chapter 15. It never ends where you think. It didn't hurt. That was the worst part. There was no pain. No tearing. No moment of breaking. Only a shift. Subtle. Quiet. Final. Her body stopped resisting. Not because she chose to, but because there was nothing left to resist with. Min's hand hovered just inches from her face. And then, it touched. Lightly. Gently. Like something being claimed. Her vision flickered. Not darkness. Not light. Something in between. A place that didn't feel like a place at all. She tried to move. She couldn't. She tried to scream. There was no sound. Because the body she was trying to control was no longer hers. From the outside, nothing seemed wrong. Two people stood in a quiet stairwell. One reaching out. One standing still. And then, the moment passed. Min lowered his hand. The girl blinked. Once. Slowly. Her posture straightened. Her breathing stabilized. Her eyes focused. Perfectly. It's done, she said. Her voice was calm. Clear. Not trembling anymore. Not afraid. Min stepped back. Or what used to be Min. The body still stood there. but something inside it had already faded. Hollowed. Empty. His head tilted slightly. The same angle. The same wrongness. But weaker now. Unstable. Like something no longer fully anchored. The girl looked at him. Not with fear. Not anymore. But with understanding. Complete understanding. Because now, she knew. Everything. The memories came all at once. Not hers. Not originally. But now. They were. The rain. The road. The talisman. Minh. Or what had been Minh. And before him. Someone else. And before that. Another. A chain. Unbroken. Unending. The body in front of her twitched slightly. Then stilled. Its shadow flickered. Split. Then collapsed. Back into one. She watched quietly. No panic. No confusion. Because she already understood what came next. The talisman appeared in her hand. Not placed. Not picked up. Simply. There. Light. Still. Empty. Waiting. She turned. Walked out of the building. Her steps were steady. Natural. Perfect. Outside. The rain had started again. Soft at first. Then heavier. Washing the streets. Clearing the ground. Resetting everything. She walked along the road. Unhurried. Until she reached a familiar spot. A shallow dip in the pavement. Where water gathered. Where something had once been found. She stopped. Looked down. Then. She let the talisman fall. It landed softly against the wet ground. Face up. The red symbols faint. Barely visible. As if waiting to be written again. She stepped back. Turned away. And walked into the rain. The street fell silent. Empty. Still. Minutes passed. Or maybe longer. Time didn't matter here. Footsteps approached. A different pair. Unfamiliar. Unaware. A person stopped. Just briefly. Something caught their attention. A piece of yellow paper. Lying in the middle of the road. They hesitated. Just for a second. Then. They bent down. And picked it up. The moment their fingers touched it. Something unseen shifted. Not in the world. But in them. Far away. The girl stopped walking. Just for a moment. Her head tilted slightly. And she smiled. Not out of joy. Not out of cruelty. But because. The process had begun again. If you ever see something you don't understand, leave it where it is. Because some things are not lost. They are placed. Waiting for the next person to make the same mistake. And when that happens, it won't be following you anymore. It will be you.
Like and subscribe to Whispering Dark Tales for more chilling ghost stories.